All right. So again, our lesson today is being self-sufficient. Being self-sufficient. You know, I'll speak to some experience from what we just spoke on regarding some of these things, being self-sufficient. There are many in the current generation that don't aspire to work hard. This has been a media-driven indoctrination in which we are taught to rely on others to survive, like our governments. This causes an attitude of entitlement and often a spoiled type of individual. In the truth, we must learn to overcome such traits and work hard, whether in following the Most High or in our everyday goings. We must take care not to be lazy. We've been brought to this, estate, to this level and this place of, like how it's read here when I'm reading from the notes of, that get up and go in us has been taken. You know, so many of our people, are, seeking ways to not do anything. That's like become our common state of mind, trying to find a way and a loophole to figure out some kind of way for something to happen without doing anything. You know what I mean? Like that's the common idea. Okay, we're gonna go into the scriptures, and I think just through wisdom and understanding, it goes without saying that that's not the way. Like we've got, especially when dealing with the Most High and His work, we can't just sit back on the Most High, but we can't sit back on ourselves, on our families, like concerning the Most High as well as our day-to-day lives. That's something we have to start, along with other things and sins, start removing and pressing in, Let's get Proverbs 6, the book of Proverbs, chapter 6, and we'll start at the 6th verse.
Proverbs chapter 6, verse 6. Go to the ant, thou sluggard, consider her ways, and be wise.
Look at the ant, lazy person, sluggard. Consider her ways and be wise.
Which having no guide, overseer, or ruler, provideth her meat in the summer, and gathereth her food in the harvest.
Look at nature, the ant, no guide, nobody over them telling them what to do. They know in wisdom what to do. Go ahead.
Verse 9. How long wilt thou sleep, O sluggard? When wilt thou arise out of thy sleep? Yet a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep. So shall thy poverty come as one that travaileth, and thy want as an armed man.
A little sleep, a little slumber. And as I said, we've kind of, and it isn't all our, for the majority, it isn't on us. Like, these are things that were put on us. But as we wake up and return to who we are and understand who we are and understand what this word means to us and understand what the Most High has for us in Him and what the Most High expects from us, that's how we start coming out of these conditions that were placed on us, this enslavement. It's more than just, picking cotton. Like, we enslaved in other ways, including our spiritually, including mentally, to where we can accept being sluggish. And these are things I'm saying that, these are situations and that we were placed in Right, we understand that. But we got to work on coming out of that. We got to work on those things. Even nature shows us that it's important to work hard. Always find something to do constructive, as it will keep you from being idle, where Satan can come in and cause wicked thoughts and actions. That idleness, that looking and finding and trying to find a place to do nothing, is what find yourself doing something wrong. That idleness is what allows your mind to stir up some evil, because we're not busy checking out the ways of the ant, working, moving, motivating to what's next, seeing what's needed, seeing what we need to work on ourselves, seeing what the body needs. If we was actually in the vineyard, we wouldn't have time to find ourselves wherever else we may not need to be, right? That idleness. Stay in Proverbs, go to the 10th chapter. And we'll read the 26th verse.
Proverbs 10 and 26. As vinegar to the teeth, as smoke to the eyes, so is the sluggard to them that send him.
Speaking to the lazy, the sluggard. Those who are maybe relying on and depending on the sluggard, are sending the sluggard to handle business or a situation. It's like smoke in his eye. You know, we are that to each other. When what we look like as a body in here full of sluggards. I'm not calling nobody a sluggard. You know what I'm saying? But you understand? I'm just saying, I'm painting a picture. Like if we that body, like we went into the Feast of Tabernacles, where we lean on and need each other. How we gonna function if we a whole room full of sluggards? That's what it's saying. Like the one that sent him is like is smoke in his eye, because he can't depend on him. There's nothing worse than entrusting a lazy person to do a job. It is like burning to the eyes. Don't be the person who nobody wants to help. For instance, maybe you are looking for a job, but someone doesn't want to help you because you know you will misrepresent them based on your poor work ethics. Sometimes people avoid asking someone to do things based off the fact they can't rely on the person to not try to cut corners on the job because of their laziness. We should be able to rely on each other. We should have a vigor to do work for each other. Like, you know what I mean? Like it should be servants of one another. And these things don't come overnight. Like none of the things that we ever, we speak of, these are works in progress. But these are things we need to have in mind and know that that's the goal that we're looking to attain. Let's get Proverbs, the 13th chapter. Many times people don't know, they miss opportunities. Stuff will be right around them, right in front of them. And somebody's scared to give them this. We're reading it right in Scripture. It's wisdom. I mean, what would that person look like throwing something in somebody's hands just for them to shamble it all up and destroy it? They can't be trusted with it. Proverbs 13 and 4.
Proverbs 13:4. The soul of the sluggard desireth, and hath nothing, but the soul of the diligent shall be made fat.
Be diligent. We're reading from the Most High's words of wisdom. Be diligent, and you won't go lacking. There's no way you'll be that same person turning around time after time after time with your hand out all the time, every time, if you're diligent. What does it say? The soul of the sluggard desireth, wanting and wanting, but have nothing. But the soul of the diligent shall be made fat. We're going to stay in Proverbs. in these wise words. Let's get the book of, we're staying in Proverbs. We're going to the 20th chapter. Proverbs 20:4.
Proverbs 20, verse 4. The sluggard will not plow by reason of the cold.
Finding an excuse, something that they need. You need to plow, you need to feed yourself, but they have a reason. Let me tell you, you will never go void of a reason, of an excuse why not. It's cold. Go ahead.
Therefore shall he beg and harvest and have nothing.
Therefore shall he beg and harvest and have nothing. If you do nothing, don't expect to have anything. Be ready to work in any season. That goes for following the Most High as well. Let's get 2 Timothy. And again, this goes towards our work concerning the Most High, but also concerning our personal lives. Just the same. We're going to the book of 2 Timothy, chapter 4, and the 2nd verse.
2 Timothy 4:2. Preach the word, be instant in season, out of season. Reprove, rebuke.
Preach the word, be instant in season, out of season. Reprove, rebuke.
Exhort with all long suffering and doctrine.
Mm-hmm.
For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lust shall they heap to themselves teachers, having itching ears. And they shall turn away their ears from the truth, and shall be turned unto fables.
Mm-hmm.
But watch thou in all things, endure afflictions, do the work of an evangelist.
Do the work.
Make full proof of thy ministry.
Make full proof of thy ministry. Preach the word. Be instant in season, out of season. So we should be ready at all times to speak the truth to people. But the same drive must transfer to other work that needs to be done. It's the same. There's other work. It isn't just speaking to people. There's from the smallest things to the grandest. And that's another thing. We can't look to just jump over everything that we want to look at as being small in our eyes and less important. Many times those are the key pieces. Just like the parable I was speaking of. When they were good stewards over the 2 shekels, and they returned them double. Their reward was being then made overseers of much. We can't just decide we want to jump to the much. Like I just want to do this grand work right here that I see. That's where I'm focused. I'm going to go do that task and this job. But we can't do the small things. The small things set the table for the large things to happen. We have to do the small things in order for the large things to be positive. How are we going to just jump to the large thing and there's nothing to build up on? Let's get Proverbs 26. Brick by brick, the small things. And next thing you know, you turn around and you've built something. But it starts with a brick. It starts with one step. It starts with, it doesn't, you don't just go and bring a castle and sit it down. You bring in bricks and building, or that for that matter, the kingdom, or for that matter, the work itself. You don't just show up and say, boom, that work is just done. It don't work that way. We have to take those steps. Proverbs 26 and 13.
Proverbs 26, verse 13. The slothful man saith, there is a lion in the way. A lion is in the streets. As the door turneth upon his hinges, so doeth the slothful upon his bed.
And excuses again, right? And it says, as a door turneth upon the hinges, the slothful does the same in bed. Just, looking for a way, to turn over and flip and flop and lay down and rest. And go ahead.
Verse 15. The slothful hideth his hand in his bosom. It grieveth him to bring it again to his mouth. Verse 16. The sluggard is wiser in his own conceit.
You see, the slothful hideth his hands in his bosom. The sluggard is wise in his own conceit. Hiding from work. Hiding his hands in his bosom. I'm a little bit tied up. Trying wisdom in his own conceit. Go ahead.
The sluggard is wiser in his own conceit than 7 men that can render a reason.
Those who are lazy look to make excuses as to why they can't do something, even to the point of lying. These same individuals have a distortion of reality where they believe that they are smarter than those who work hard in anything and lie to themselves as a result. See that? Where they think they're being wise and cunning. But it says the sluggard is wise in his own conceit. They think they outwitting somebody because they always looking to get over in their sluggish ways, thinking they wise, because that man is out there actually tilling and plowing. Who is the fool? Get off of your hands, and that way you don't have to have your hand out. All right, let's get the book of Sirach in the Apocrypha, or Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha. And we'll go to chapter 29. Ecclesiasticus, chapter 29, and we'll start at the 2nd verse.
Ecclesiasticus 29 and 2. Lend to thy neighbor in time of his need.
Okay, so we see, I want to make it clear, like there are times when people are in need, and we can't be too ashamed to understand when we need help. Okay, because it's okay to be in need and need help at times. All right, I mean, because I don't want to confuse that, but there's also times when we find ourselves in need and in peril due to our own foolishness and sluggish ways. Okay, especially when it's a situation where there comes a time where, we have to start taking a level of responsibility for ourselves. Okay? We can't just look to lean on somebody to take care of us, right? Go ahead.
Lend to thy neighbor in time of his need, and pay thou thy neighbor again in due season. Verse 3. Keep thy word and deal faithfully with him, and thou shalt always find the thing that is necessary for thee.
Keep thy word and deal faithfully with him. And lend to thy neighbor in time of his need, and pay thou thy neighbor again in due season, right? paying someone back. I'm going to let the scripture speak for itself. Go ahead.
Keep thy word and deal faithfully with him,
Mm-hmm.
and thou shalt always find the thing that is necessary for thee.
It's saying deal faithfully, right? Being true to your word. Go ahead and read. Continue reading that.
Many, when a thing was lent them, reckoned it to be found, and put them to trouble that helped them. Till he hath received, he will kiss a man's hand, and for his neighbor's money he will speak submissively.
Right.
But when he should repay, he will prolong the time, and return words of grief, and complain of the time.
You see that? So see, there's a difference between being in need and dealing faithfully with your brother or sister, and looking and having in your heart the whole time to deal faithfully with your brother or sister, and having in your heart to be honest and look to repay. Then there's a difference. Then there's the other side of that coin of you think you're being wise in your own conceit, think you fooling somebody, and you don't have no intentions on paying somebody back. And matter of fact, you're already planning the next time you're going to put your hand out to the next person. See that? There's a difference. Till he hath received, he will kiss a man's hand until he get what he want. He's submissive and, oh, I'm this and that and, oh, the spirit and everything else, right? All this. And for his neighbor's money, he will speak submissively. They humble themselves and everything. You see, oh, man, many times people go out of their way and set themselves back to try to help people, which is beautiful. It's a great thing. It's a wonderful spirit. But we got to be careful that we are not those just looking to mistreat people's kindness. But when he should repay, he will prolong the time. Oh, well, wait till this, wait till that come in, wait my income tax, wait for this, wait for that. I gotta wait, because I'm gonna hit this thing, I'm gonna do that bill, and then once that, I can start everything. Every time it's something else, and return words of grief and complain of the time. I'm still going through, well, deal faithfully with one another. Where are we at? Verse 6?
Mm-hmm. If he prevail, he shall hardly receive the half, and he will count as if he had found it. If not, he hath deprived him of his money, and he hath gotten him an enemy without cause.
You see?
He payeth him with cursings and railings, and for honor he will pay him disgrace.
You see that? So now the person who needed help is mad at the person who helped them.
Right.
He cussing out the person who actually came to them in need, when the person who was in need had the foul intentions from the beginning. But now they want to point at somebody else. Don't the scriptures just ring so true? All the time. Ain't no way nobody can tell me this book ain't from the Most High, straight. And live. And direct. Where we at?
Verse 7. Many therefore have refused to lend for other men's ill dealing, fearing to be defrauded.
We can't be like that amongst each other. We can't be up in here, finagling deals and trickstering each other up, and trying to. We can't. We have to deal faithfully and righteously, honestly amongst each other. There's nothing worse than someone who is a freeloader or someone who borrows something with no real effort put forth to pay back that which they owe. Sometime a person's character can hinder a person from receiving help in times of need due to their sluggard actions. Let's continue right there in the 29th chapter, starting at verse 22.
Verse 22. Better is the life of a poor man in a mean cottage than delicate fare in another man's house.
Better is the life of a poor man dealing without than to always be in somebody else's pocket. Go ahead. Or in someone's home and living, it's, speaking to living off of others. Like what we were just reading above in the same chapter. Go ahead.
23. Be it little or much, hold thee contented, that thou hear not the reproach of thy house. For it is a miserable life to go from house to house. For where thou art a stranger, thou darest not open thy mouth.
Be content with what little or much. Be content with what we have. And work, labor. We were saying that you will be made fat. You will gain those things. You won't have to just stay without. And I don't want it to get confused with some type of prosperity idea where, God just going to rain blessings on you. And, I'm not going there. But I'm saying the Most High will provide.
Yes, sir.
He'll provide as we work and move. I mean, we can't just sit back on our hands and pray and toss and turn in the bed and I'm Israel and everything else going on and just think that no, we got to move. We reading from his word right now. Go ahead.
For it is a miserable life to go from house to house, for where thou art a stranger, thou darest not open thy mouth. Thou shalt entertain and feast, and have no thanks. Moreover, thou shalt hear bitter words.
Entertain, feast on other people's dime, right? And have no thanks. Ain't that funny how that's what we see happen. Most of the time, the people that's being taken care of in these things, they can't even appreciate it. They'll turn around and be the same ones mad at you. We reading it right here. No thanks. Moreover, thou shalt hear bitter words. Go ahead.
Verse 26. Come, thou stranger, and furnish a table, and feed me of that thou hast ready. Give place, thou stranger, to an honorable man. My brother cometh to be lodged, and I have need of mine house.
Mm-hmm.
These things are grievous to a man of understanding, the upbraiding of house room and reproaching of the lender.
There are many in the truth still living at home with their parents. They will try to bring truth to their family, but don't so much as wash dishes without being told. This also can be a hindrance from a person listening to the truth. A person should strive to have their own means to sustain, but when not possible, they should help in the home they are in, so not to look as a hypocrite to the other inhabitants. Because it could be a wise thing to dwell in a home, multiple people, multiple young, or not even young. I'm not saying not young. Single is the word I meant to say. Single men or single women, coming together and going into split, but break the bills down and but it's talking about doing your part, like doing your share. Or say you're there and you can't help with the bills, right? Be humble and thankful and work and do what you can around the house. To break it down into a literal example, right? Do what you can. Don't take it as if this is owed to you. Be looking to get off your feet. Be looking to get a job or be whatever it is. Start your own business, start doing this and selling whatever. It's not to be that door on the hinges, tossing and turning and, just laying around and feeling a certain type of way because people looking at you as you walking around eating, they greens and, cornbread. And you feeling away. You won't cook. You won't wash the dishes. You in and out the refrigerator. Every time I'm in the kitchen, you in the kitchen.
Talking about what we need.
Yeah, we need some.
We're not gonna go get it.
Bring me one. Yeah, when you get back. You know, I'll be, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, so, you know, because I just don't want it to be confused. It's not a bad thing if you stay with your parents or you staying with a friend or you down. Hey, I've been there. I've been without. I've shared roofs. I've chopped up potatoes and onions any kind of ways you can. Like, I've done that. Seasoned them up. It's wet, you know? So it's not to put somebody down, but you don't just be sluggish. That's what we're speaking about. All right, where did we leave off?
That was it.
28? All right. So let's stay there in Ecclesiasticus and go to the 40th chapter. You know, I've been down. I've known, you know, I've had to receive help. You know, I'm not speaking against receiving help. You know, because we can't be too prideful either when we're in need. You know what I mean? And you might need a brother and sister's help. You know, but being faithful to one another. You know, you can't, you know, I don't want nobody to be up amongst us and just doing, you know, without and can't speak up and ask, okay, for some help. We don't want that either, okay? But we got to understand working against the sluggard spirit. Getting up, moving on behalf of the Most High, first and foremost, but in our personal lives as well, and especially in as well dealing with one another. So we're in Ecclesiasticus, the 40th chapter, starting at the 28th verse.
Ecclesiasticus 40 and 28. My son, lead not a beggar's life, for better it is to die than to beg. The life of him that dependeth on another man's table is not to be counted for a life. For he polluted himself with other men's meat. But a wise man, well nurtured, will beware thereof.
So you're polluting yourself as you take of the fat from another man. You're eating unto your own pollution. There's no life in it. Like you're hurting yourself. While you sitting back thinking you eating high off the king, because you sitting up taking from somebody else, you're eating death to yourself. You're polluting yourself. Don't be comfortable in that situation if you are in need. Go ahead.
Begging is sweet in the mouth of the shameless, but in his belly there shall burn a fire.
And see, that's how it turns around, that as you eating this death, because you're not in the right spirit.
That's right.
That's why all of a sudden you can turn around and be the same one mad at the man or woman or whoever that's helping you. Because you're eating that pollution and you're fueling that fire in your belly.
And that's how they have us right now as a people, depending upon the government and looking to get handouts, you know, for all the way from slavery to today. They have caused us to depend on someone outside of, first off, the Most High, and then secondly, us being able to do for self. And that's the only way the nation will be built.
Man, I mean, it's so many of us depending on, you know, somebody I work with just probably this last week or two, you know, was referring to having some more kids so they can get some more income from the government. I mean, y'all know, you know what I'm saying? That's what it is. Yeah, you know, it's just, I mean, that's a sad state for us to be in. so just sitting in the back and relying on somebody else. That's what we're reading right here.
Instead of going and get it for yourself.
Yeah. And you know, I understand our position. Like, you know, I understand where we come from as a people. I understand that, you know, the cards are stacked against us. You know, and I hear the remarks of, oh, just pull your bootstraps up. Well, we dealing with the Most High here.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? As we return to him in full righteousness, because I know the cards are stacked against us. It can be very tough out there for us. You know, so I'm not acting like, you know, oh, you know, it's, you know, well, pull your bootstraps up and you know, you can just get everything you see on TV. That's not what I'm saying. I know it's tough for us. You know, we all understand that. But we dealing with the Most High now. As we look to operate, my brother, how you doing? Shalom. As we look to operate in righteousness, you know, understanding the strength that pours out of these scriptures, understanding our power and strength come from this word, understanding the Most High got us. Like, we don't need no corporate nothing, no nothing. It don't matter. Right? That's what we got. That's what we understanding and dealing with, the Most High. Not climbing a corporate chain and a ladder or nothing, you know, whatever that is, that's what it is. But this is what we talking about. We waking up now. I'm going to tell you, through whatever I had went through, and I was in some tight spaces sometime, I knew I was cool. My wife would sometimes be like, I'm like, yo, we cool. Don't even worry about it. We all right. Don't even, I'm telling you. Because you know, it was some spots. But we dealing with him. Now she can look back. Like we were talking about, sometimes we go through things to build our experience and strengthen our faith. Now she can look back and be like, boy, man, you was right. Because I would tell her, I'm like, we right in the Most High hand. Everything you seeing, he got us though. I'm telling you. Now she can look back and be like, woo. He did. Because that's the only way. You know? Where are we at?
We done. We moving on to the next scripture.
All right. Living off the hard work of another is not a life. Only fools can be comfortable freeloading off of someone. Right? Let's get, we're going to stay right there in Ecclesiasticus 25 and 22.
Ecclesiasticus 25, verse 22. A woman, if she maintain her husband, is full of anger, impotence, and much reproach.
Right. So this is speaking to our men. It's speaking to our men. We have a responsibility, men. As we deal with this sluggard thing, you know, as we deal with this whole situation, this falls on us first. Being the heads of not only our homes, but the heads and leaders when it comes to this body and this work and the church of the Most High all together. That charge and that responsibility in large part falls on you, men. This work, the Most High's work, this body can only be as much as the men will step up and be. And that's just the truth. All right, a man must find a means to contribute to the family structure. If you lose a job or home, pick up a broom and find something else constructive to do. This causes great strain on the family and can cause deep-seated anger between spouses. And, it's not a mystery. It's not a, of how all of these things, as we read in the scriptures, do you see how we were intentionally worked on to be the opposite of what the Most High is asking? You know what I'm saying? They surgically went at us in heavy ways. Every point that we read on where we're getting understanding on what we should be, we can go into examples of how an intentional measure was taken to make us the exact opposite. Us as men, again, we got to work against that. We coming out of that. We got to brush that off. We got to rinse it off. We got to, take a shower and just and wipe that whole zone off of us and start taking responsibility. Start owning what this is. We have to. So we're going to read a passage from the Testament of Issachar. Issachar, we know, is one of the 12 patriarchs of the children of Israel, right? Issachar, who we call the so-called Mexicans today. The Testament of Issachar, the 3rd chapter, starting at the 1st verse.
Testament of Issachar, chapter 3, verse 1. When, therefore, I grow up, my children, I walk in uprightness of heart, and I became a husbandman for my father and my brethren.
A husbandman meaning a worker of the field, a busy man, hands-on with the work to be done to sustain. A husbandman for my father and my brethren. Speaking of the Judah and Levi. That's what he did for his father and his brothers. Go ahead.
A husbandman for my father and my brethren, and I brought in fruits from the field according to their season. And my father blessed me, for he saw that I walked in rectitude before him.
Do y'all see who we are, and who we always have been? Wow. This is Issachar. It still is, exactly. And when you read about every tribe, you'll be doing the same thing. Like, man, that's them. Man, that's us. Ooh, that's me. The husbandmen to the brothers, right? Verse 2.
And my father blessed me, for he saw that I walked in rectitude before him. And I was not a busybody in my doings, nor envious and malicious against my neighbor.
Busybody is speaking of in and out of business and, finding things to meddle in. Got something to say about everything. Conversating on who did, that's what it's talking about, busybody. It's not talking about him being busy doing this work, okay? I just wanted to clear that up. That's what it's talking about, being a busybody. Go ahead.
I never slandered anyone, nor did I censure the life of any man, walking as I did in singleness of eye.
Focused on his work.
Therefore, when I was 35 years old, I took to myself a wife, for my labor wore away my strength, and I never thought upon pleasure with women. But owing to my toil, sleep overcame me, and my father always rejoiced in my rectitude, because I offered through the priest to the Most High all first fruits, then to my father also. And the Most High increased 10,000-fold his benefits in my hands, and also Jacob, my father, knew that the Most High aided my singleness. For on all the poor and oppressed bestowed the good things of the earth in the singleness of my heart. And now hearken to me, my children, and walk in singleness of your heart.
And walk in singleness of your hearts, staying focused on the matters at hand and the work that needs to be done. Right? Go ahead.
For I have seen in all that is well pleasing to the Most High.
Mm-hmm.
The single-minded man coveteth not gold. He overreacheth not his neighbor. He longeth not after manifold dainties.
Right.
He delighteth not in varied apparel.
So he's not coveting the single-minded. He's not looking to work to outdo the next guy, to get, to show off his flashy whatever he was able to buy with his workings. This is that single-mindedness to, and it brings forth a great point. As we don't come out of our sluggard ways to impress, to see what all we can buy, and attain and accumulate material, in a unrighteous, intentions. You know what I mean? Looking to go floss or whatever. You know what I mean? That's not what it is. Go ahead.
He actually blessed his brothers.
Yeah,
and
he
his
working
father.
for his people. And when you're in the right singleness of mind and in the right spirit, that's your motivation when you're working. He's working and to take care of everybody.
Verse 3. This is chapter 4 I'm in now. Chapter 4, verse 3. He doeth not desire to live a long life, but only waiteth for the will of the Most High.
Just like today, Issachar worked hard and didn't look to the other foolishness which could come through idleness. Issachar was blessed by the Father because of his desire to work hard and not become entangled in foolishness. All right, we're going to go back to the Apocrypha. Ecclesiasticus 27:3. Are we not recording? Mm-hmm. Oh, it is. Okay. Ecclesiasticus 27:3.
Ecclesiasticus 27, verse 3. Unless a man hold himself diligently in the fear of the Most High, his house shall soon be overthrown.
Unless a man hold himself diligently in the fear of the Most High, his house shall be overthrown. We have that. The state of our homes falls on the men. Again, I want to go right back to that. There's a heavy responsibility. It's easy to refer to the scriptures and want to go to 1 Corinthians about the order that the Most High put in place, and a man wanting to take some level of rank as a man. But they don't want to take on the responsibility of a man. That falls on the man. We have to take that responsibility. And honestly, before we even seek to take any type of order or rank, we need to take on these responsibilities. Unless a man hold himself diligently in fear of the Lord, his house, not just him, his house shall soon be overthrown. Verse 4.
As when one sifteth with a sieve, the refuse remaineth, so the filth of man in his talk.
All right. It's a constant evaluation of ourselves through the scriptures, even when it comes down to questions of whether we are sluggards in our everyday lives. When you make it a practice to be a sluggard, it will also translate into how you serve the Most High, undoubtedly. Let's get Proverbs chapter 31. And we'll start at the 10th verse.
Verse 10. Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband doeth safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil.
Who can find a virtuous woman? Her price is far above rubies. To understand the value of our daughters of Zion, of our women. Go ahead.
Verse 12. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. She seeketh wool and flax, and worketh willingly with her hands. She is like the merchant ships. She brings her food from afar. She riseth also while it is yet night, and giveth meat to her household, and a portion to her maidens. She considereth a field and buyeth it. With the fruit of her hand she planteth a vineyard. She girdeth her loins with strength, and strengtheneth her arms. She perceiveth that her merchandise is good. Her candle goeth not out by night. She layeth her hands to the spindle, and her hands hold the staff. She stretches out her hand to the poor. Yea, she reaches forth her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. She maketh herself coverings of tapestry.
Speaking of a virtuous woman, right? These things and taking care of her home. Right? What verse are you at?
22. She maketh herself coverings and tapestry. Her clothing is silk and purple. Her husband is known in the gates, when he sitteth among the elders of the land. She maketh fine linen, and selleth it, and delivereth girdles unto the merchant. Strength and honor are her clothing, and she shall rejoice in the time to come. She openeth her mouth with wisdom, and in her tongue is the law of kindness. She looketh well to the ways of her household, and eateth not the bread of idleness. Her children arise.
She looketh well to the ways of her household, and eateth not the bread of idleness. Right? Verse 28.
Her children arise up and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praiseth her. Many daughters have done virtuously, but thou excellest them all. Favor is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman that feareth the Most High, she shall be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates.
Yeah, right. A sister in the truth, just like the brothers, must be diligent and make sure they are doing their part in the home. In modern society, too many of our sisters have learned to be lazy in the housework, but active in working for the other nations. We must hold to our righteous women of the scriptures as the model of what to do in our homes. The microwave instant food mentality has made for a generation of laziness, and oftentimes this translates into laziness in our diligence to uphold our families in strength. Living virtuously leaves no time for foolishness, but always finds time to do those things which build positively. The sisters' contributions help to keep the home balanced and moving forward together. Let's get Matthew 12. And I tell you, it's amazing when we deal. Sometimes we don't always, especially when being removed from ourselves, our culture, our history as a people. When we, it takes us, we may not always understand, but when we just deal in obedience, it's phenomenal how the Most High, in all our ways in obedience, that's our strength. Like that's what is our power in our families, as an individual, in the body, but in our homes as well.
Matthew 12 and 25. And Yeshua knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand.
Mm-hmm. So that's, kind of speaking to what I was saying, that obedience and understanding, that obedience to what thus saith the Lord. At the end of the day, that has to trump everything amongst us as a body and amongst us in our homes, in our households. We can't, look to our homes to function in total order and operation if we're not dealing according to our homes and households as our God who sanctioned marriage in a household, husband and wife. That's his creation. He has the order of how it functions correctly. Any way of trying to operate outside of that, you're not gonna get the result of the fully functioning home that the Most High intended. As a body, we must understand this point, as well as members of a household. We must understand those spirits of being a sluggard can cause issues in the house and also in the body. Those issues of strife can eat away at the structure and ultimately destroy the person and also those around them. We must be on task to get things accomplished, and we have to be patient with one another in our homes and in the body as we, but I'm just kind of speaking to our homes. The men, we have work to do. Sometimes the women may have work to do. We have to work together. Be patient with one another. As the same within our bodies. Be patient with one another. Like we just read. And Yeshua knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation. Every city or home divided against itself shall not stand. We have to be patient, compassionate, show love, kindness. The same way we look to be one in this body amongst us, we can't look to be one here if before we leave our home, we not one. It's no way it just doesn't work that way. So we have to have that same union at home. Like we got to work together. It's not going to be perfect. We all coming out of things, men and women, but we have to work together as we all strive, right? I just have a couple more scriptures. We almost finished. Let's get Matthew 24. And we'll start at 42.
Matthew 24, verse 42. Watch therefore, for ye know not what hour your Lord doth come. But know this, that if the good man of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched and would not have suffered his house to be broken up.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, be ye also ready, for in such an hour as ye think not, the Son of Man cometh. Verse 45. Who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom his Lord has made ruler over his household to give him meat in due season? Blessed is that servant, whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing.
Mm-hmm.
Verily I say unto you.
Right, let me see. Who then is faithful and wise servant, whom the Lord hath made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season? Blessed is that servant, whom the Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing. Right? Go ahead.
Verily I say unto you, that he shall make him ruler over all his goods. And if that evil servant shall say in his heart, My Lord delayeth his coming, and shall begin to smite his fellow servants, and to eat and drink with drunken, the Lord of that servant shall come in a day when he looketh not for him, and in an hour that he is not aware of, and shall cut him asunder, and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth.
So being a good workman in the household is being compared to how ready and diligent you must be, not to be a sluggard in the faith. Why? If you are not diligent in life responsibilities and are one to procrastinate, you will do the same in the truth. See how these correlate to the same spiritually and in our personal lives. Christ will reward the good servant who is on point and watching over the Father's affairs in great care when he returns. We must overcome our conditioning so that our spiritual walk does not suffer. Let's get Romans, the 13th chapter. I've just got a couple more scriptures. Romans 13 and 10.
Romans 13 and 10. Love worketh no ill to his neighbor. Therefore love is the fulfilling of the law. And that, knowing the time, that now is high time to awake out of sleep. For now is our salvation nearer than when we believed. The night is far spent, the day is at hand. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness, and let us put on the armor of light.
The night is far spent, the day is at hand. The day is at hand. Like you don't need an excuse. It's cold or any other reason. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness, and let us put on the armor of light. Go ahead.
Verse 13. Let us walk honestly as in the day, not in rioting and drunkenness, not in chambering and wantonness, not in strife and envying. But put ye on the Lord Yeshua Christ, and make not provision for the flesh, to fulfill the lust thereof.
Right. So change that spirit of a sluggard so that this translate into helping you to combat the lack of working on certain spiritual battles. Proverbs chapter 19. The book of Proverbs chapter 19. We'll read the 15th verse. Proverbs 19 and 15.
Proverbs 19 and 15. Slothfulness casteth into a deep sleep, and an idle soul shall suffer hunger.
Slothfulness casteth into a deep sleep. This isn't only speaking of physically sleeping. Being slothful casts us into a spiritual deep sleep. And it also causes us to suffer hunger spiritually. Get up, move. And it's a process. We don't have to go tackle the world overnight or in 1 hour's time, but take steps. 1 Timothy. That'll keep our spirit fervent. That'll keep us intact and in tune with the Most High and the Holy Spirit. Sitting back slothful and just waiting for, the Sabbath to come around just to get up for a couple hours and go right back to slothfulness is what allows us to go into that deep sleep, to hunger spiritually and to be blind and be asleep spiritually. You know, think of little things to do, not only spiritually, you know, around the house. Little, you know, don't just be slothful. There is a time to relax. You know, it's okay to chill, relax. You know, we're going to be having fun and doing that together. Those things are all fine. But, you know, we just need to watch that slothful spirit. 1 Timothy 5:11.
But the younger widows refuse, for when they have begun to wax wanting against Christ, they will marry, having damnation because they cast off their first faith. And withal they learn to be idle, wandering about from house to house, and not only idle, but tattlers also, and busybodies, speaking things which they ought not.
Read that again, verse 11.
But the younger widows refuse, for when they have begun to wax wanting against Christ, they will marry.
Right, they will marry.
Having damnation because they have cast off their first faith. And withal they learn to be idle.
And learn to be idle. You know, we were reading of that idleness. That idleness is what leads to what we read following. Right? Go ahead.
Having damnation because they have cast off their first faith.
Mm-hmm.
And withal they learn to be idle.
Withal they learn to be idle.
Wandering about from house to house.
Wandering about from house to house.
And not only idle, but tattlers.
But tattlers.
Also in busybodies.
This opens that space. And see, there's nothing wrong with hanging out and all those things. But we have to be careful with a lot of the idleness. And because, I mean, we're reading it here in 1 Timothy's. It's speaking to the young widows going from house to house, being idle, wandering, tattling, busybodies, speaking things that they ought not. That's a lot of times what comes from those situations. And we have to read it for what it is. It's something to be mindful of. You know, I don't, you know, myself or anyone, you know, it's not someone's place to say what we do and go, because those things are good. But we got to make sure we keep a level of, we understand what it could be, because it can, you know, that idleness makes room for things. All right. Where are we at? Verse 14.
I will therefore that the younger women marry, bear children, guide the house, give none occasion
Marry,
to the
guide the house. Right. Go ahead.
Give none occasion to the adversary to speak reproachfully. For some are already turned aside after Satan.
That becomes an opportunity for Satan. All right. Idleness can cause opportunity for Satan to come in and tempt us into committing foolishness. All right. Here's my last scripture. We'll get Romans 6. Yes, please.
Just to bring clarity, in verse 11 in 1 Timothy chapter 5, when it says, but the younger widows refuse, is basically saying to refuse them into the role or into the membership of a widow. And then you see it goes in to say that the younger women should marry.
Marry, right.
So it's not saying put them away, it's saying to refuse them from being widows.
Thank you for that, man. So we're going to Romans 6 and 5. Romans chapter 6, verse 5.
Romans 6 and 5. For if we have been planted together in the likeness of his death, we shall be also in the likeness of his resurrection. Knowing this, that our old man is crucified with him, that the body of sin might be destroyed, that henceforth we should not serve sin. For he that is dead is freed from sin.
Right.
Now, if we be dead with Christ, we believe that we shall also live with him, knowing that Christ, being raised from the dead, dieth no more.
All right. Often our old self was one of procrastination, sluggard behavior, idle time. However, Christ was not sluggard. We are to follow Christ's example and shun our former selves so that we can live with him in the kingdom to come. That's all I have on that lesson. So through the Most High, Ahaya Ba'Hashem Yeshaya, we hope that that lesson was helpful and that, it was, you gained something, that we all took something away from that. All right. So with that, we'll say